Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and squirrels. Welcome to David and Alex's Totally Rad podcast. That's totally not a podcast. We're your host. I'm Alex Barone, and this
is David Harrell.
We are mentors, actors, and all-around diversity advocates. We're on a journey to find others like us who may be a little different and have used their uniqueness to become mega mentors and role models for us here at Camp No Limits. So tune in with us as we deep dive into getting to know some of these superstars.
Well, A-Town Brown, we have a fantastic guest for today.
We do.
I'm super excited to talk to our guest. This is third time, man. Third time charm. You know what I mean? Like,
lucky number 3.
To doing this again. You know, this Totally Not a Podcast thing has gone really well. People are loving it. I think people are really going to be stoked to see this next guest. But again, Alex, to have a Totally Not podcast, we do have to have some totally not real sponsors to allow us to have or to bring this not real podcast to you. So before we get started, I know everyone's excited, but we do need to thank a few of our fake sponsors. First and foremost, I think we need to thank our sponsor for this week, which is sunscreen. No particular brand of sunscreen, just the general sense of sunscreen, because it's important. We're in the summer months now. People are going outside. We're trying to keep social distance, but yet outside. But the sun is not going to social distance from your face. So you got to get the suntan lotion, the screen, the SPF, all up in that grill. Mm-hmm. And then you want to do on the arms, you got to get the nub, you got to get everywhere just to be safe. So we want you, the Not a Podcast listener, to be safe, and so do our sponsors, sunscreen. Alex, do you have any other sponsor you'd like to
true,
thank?
David. And it can be hard social distancing with sunscreen as well. So
can be.
Yeah. But, speaking of sunscreen, David, I would like to say that, let's face it, right? Let's face it, we've all been in that awkward situation where we are at Camp No Limits and we're helping set up the activities or maybe the registration tables, mingling with our new campers and families, right? We're surrounded by a ton of people. We can't really escape those tons of people at the moment, but we feel our tummy grumbling a bit and think, yikes, I could really use the bathroom right now. Oh gosh. But you don't want to be rude to all the new guests. Right. Well, guys and girls, stress no further, ladies and gentlemen, because right now and for the next 3 to 6 months or so, baby Benny Layton will teach you how to quietly disappear into a corner of any room and let one out without anyone even knowing you're gone. Then you can just go back to mingling, clean up later, right? No biggie. But if interested in this phenomenal deal of a lifetime, you must register now before baby Benny has no more time to instruct anymore because he's at preschool, right?
Right.
Register now at Baby Benny's PartyPooperCornerQuest.com. Act now, guys.
Yeah, that's a rumble in the Benny. You know what I mean? So
rumble in the Benny.
Alex, I am excited about this guest. We have our virtual teen camp that is coming up here, and who better to talk to than one of our actual teen mentors. He's been a camper for a long time. He's really taken on some leadership roles. He's a graduate of this 2020 pandemic class. He's one of
all the graduates, by the way.
He's one. Yeah, congratulations to all the graduates. He's one of these famous graduates. Let's bring him in. It's Mr. Cameron Lutges.
Yeah.
All right, Cameron. Mr. Lutges. There he is. All right. Cameron, what's going on, bro?
Nothing much. Just sitting at my house, just relaxing, having a good day. How about you guys?
Oh, we're good, man. Thank you for doing this this podcast for us. We really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be one of the people to interview. I'm excited. I'm pumped for this.
Nice.
Lucky number 3, baby. Third time's a charm. We were just saying. This is the one.
That's right. It's like Lucky Charms. You're like You're like the purple marshmallow in Lucky Charms. I think that's like the third one there. I think you're definitely like the purple marshmallow.
Right. Me and David are like the Cheerios, where they're kind of like whatever, and then the purple marshmallow is like whoa.
It brings the party to the Lucky Charms. I mean, if it's just Cheerios, color. It's just Cheerios. It's not Lucky Charms. So, Cameron, tell us just to start us off. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and where you're at right now. If you're still in the same place you grew up.
Yeah, I've lived in Santa Clarita all my life, Santa Clarita, California. I grew up here. I was born at Henry Mayo Hospital right here in Santa Clarita. I attended all my elementary schools out here and junior highs and high schools, stayed out here. Met a lot of great people out here. My family all mostly lives out here. There's some scattered here and there, but my mom and dad met out here. They stayed out here, and they split up, but then they still stayed out here, and it works. It's a good little family dynamic out here.
That's cool. Where exactly in California is that? Is it like in the northern coast or kind of eastern?
Like about 15 minutes from LA or so. It's like under LA.
Yeah.
So
actually, it's right above LA. So Cameron is
cool.
like 25 minutes from me, from Los Angeles to Santa Clarita. And fun fact about Henry Mayo, where Cameron was born, my girlfriend is a physical therapist there. So we're
it's all tied together. It's like the Lucky Charms coming back. So, Cameron, what was life like for you as a kid there in Santa Clara? Like, what you said, you kind of went to your elementary school, your middle school, high school. We did let everyone know you're part of the famous 2020 graduating class, but what was life kind of like as a kid growing up?
It was fun. You had your little soccer teams, baseball teams, and you had your friends. The elementary schools out here were fun. There was a lot you could choose from, so you had a lot of friends at different schools if you had family friends and stuff. But for me, elementary school was a good time. It was rough in the beginning, getting used to out there with the kids playing around because I didn't yet have my blades to run around, so it was hard for me to maneuver. But once I got the hang of it, when I was able to run with all the other kids, I was just like anyone else. It was a good time out on the black top, as we would call it, no grass. But yeah, I played basketball. Handball was a very popular game for me in elementary school. But
it's handball when you go against you slap it right against the wall.
Yeah, you hit it with your fist or however you want to against the wall, and it was just a fun old game to play against your friends.
And so, Cameron, you mentioned a little bit. You talked a little bit like not having blades and that sort of being a thing. But for people who might not know what that means, could you talk a little bit about your limb difference and then again, sort of kind of how that informed you growing up as well?
Yeah, no, so I'm a double above the knee amputee. I was born with tibia hemimelia, so I was born with the absences of my tibias, so I had them amputated at 10 months old. And when I'm referring to the blades, I mean the Cheetah Flex runners, and they're the C-shaped prosthetic that allow anyone who's missing a lower extremity run because it has more of a bounce and gets you going faster.
What age were you roughly when you got those blades?
I was 7.
Whoa, 7?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So that's still first, second grade, right? Like you were getting that's pretty cool.
So was it like a difficult, what was the transition like from you were kind of saying sitting on the sidelines watching and not playing to getting the blades and being able to play? Was it difficult to make that transition in that time?
It was definitely, those legs were definitely one of the harder ones to learn because they had a funny feeling. You're not so much on the ground, you're bouncing 24/7. So it was hard to get used to them, but once I got them, it was like I was a little kid. I was determined to get out there with the rest of them. I wasn't going to sit on the side. So once I got it, I was just out there playing. I mean, I snapped a couple of them and we had to duct tape them at school. It didn't work, but we tried. So, but yeah, no, once I got them down, I was out there shooting hoops, keeping up with the kids, and just, I mean, I had a lot more fun and enjoyed going to school more once I was able to get those.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that school would become more fun and interesting once you had the access and accommodation to be able to kind of participate. I guess that's the big thing, and I think that's what's so important, especially in our community too. It's especially in lower. I think the lower limb difference. I mean, the legs have gotten so much better. I probably just even from your elementary age to what you're using now. Can you talk a little bit about have you seen an improvement? Not just like or I guess in your own personal life, like the things that you've been using over the course of however many 10, 12 years it's been.
Yeah, no, I mean, a drastic change, because I went from a knee that was like a door hinge, and once it bent, and you would fall if you bent it on accident. Or, I mean, I definitely was having to wear those more in 5th and 6th grade because my parents were like, they're better for posture and stuff like that, and just to know how to use multiple pairs of legs and not forget. So the technology is completely different, because now I have the X3s, which are like completely a game changer, and I've never had a prosthetic like these at all. And they just the other ones, it was more like me walking on my own, so I had a weird stride because I had to like kick out my hips to get the leg to extend outward so I wouldn't just fall. But with these ones, it's more of like an assist in it. So when I kick, or when it feels me with the pressure on the toe and walking forward, it almost as if like the hydraulics like push it back forward. So I'm not so much on my own with walking, and it's a cleaner stride. And also with the resistance with these ones, when I walk down slopes, I can walk much slower. With the other knees, I had to either hold onto a railing and kind of scale the side, because if I started trying to go down that hill, I just have to keep speeding up and keep up with the knees and eventually collapse.
You have a lot more
So,
control now.
exactly. So it's very helpful, and these have completely changed how I live my life, to be honest.
They're called the X3s.
Yeah.
That just sounds cool. Yeah, I
It
got
does
the
sound.
X3s.
I got the X3s now.
The triple X.
X2. X2 was just, I was done. I was done with the X2. What like sports and stuff, Cameron? You talked a little bit. You did a great job sort of speaking to some of the graduates for our graduation ceremony. You talked about swimming and some other sports. You talked about kind of getting on the playground on the blacktop there, because I guess you guys have no grass in California. But what other sports did you really find yourself drawn to growing up?
So one of the first ones I actually did was jiu-jitsu. So just some self-defense and learning, like, it really helped me with maneuvering around, to be honest, like learning how to get up on things and using my arms and stuff like that, because of like hitting blocks and stuff, and learning techniques. And then after that, I did Taekwondo because I was interested in that. And then I switched over to baseball, and that one wasn't too good because I didn't prefer like depending on my prosthetics, because if they broke or something happened to it, I wouldn't be able to play, or I'd have to sit out for the rest of the time. So that's where I thought about swim, because that didn't involve prosthetics and it was just me. So that's when I joined my swim team in high school. And I mean, I'm glad I did, because I made extremely good friends and extremely good experiences. And I mean, I bettered myself, because I mean, I was a little chubby boy in 7th and 8th grade. So when I went to high school in 9th grade, I was able to lose a lot of that weight and better myself physically, and also great bonds and a great coach and team and everything. So it was all out, just an amazing opportunity that I took.
Yeah, I think that's. Go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry.
No, and swimming is like, and jiu-jitsu too, but they're like the perfect kind of endurance sport that work out these muscles you didn't even know you had. And I'm guessing for you, like to work some of the leg muscles that you maybe couldn't have gotten in another sport and everything.
Yeah.
But also, I was a chubby kid too, Cam. So don't feel bad. I think most of us were chubby little boys.
I was skinny, man. I'm just chubby now. I can't get back to skinny.
The reverse.
There's a reverse. I'm reverse. No. But I think what's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that you sort of found your way to swimming because you were like, yeah, these prosthetics are great and they're certainly tools and they're going to help me do certain things. But then there are other ways to compete that it takes that out of the equation a little bit, and it's just how my body can kind of adapt into that situation, which is pretty cool. I kind of found that was a way that when I played baseball, that was kind of interesting for me is the prosthetic was great and it helped at times, but then there were certain things that were harder to do, and I was able to adapt and do a little better without it, so I think sometimes that comes and goes. I think that's what's so great about prosthetics is that they're going to help you at times, but then there are also other things you're going to be able to adapt and do things without them too. So you're just finding the capacity in our own body, which is pretty cool. So tell us a little bit about, well, Alex, I think you had some questions that you brought up when we were talking.
I was just going to ask, Cam, you're a huge inspiration to us at Can't No Limits, but for those of the people watching who don't know your story of how you got mixed up with Can't No Limits in the first place, would you mind just sharing how you got connected as a camper, and then ultimately what inspired you to become a mentor after being a camper?
Yeah, so originally I came to camp for the first time when I was 12, and my first camp was Big Bear Camp, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I'm pretty sure the reason I went was because of Cameron Clapp, because I met him through Hanger before, and he was telling me about it, and then I instantly fell in love with camp, seeing all the kids like me. It was like a miracle, and just learning things I didn't know about my prosthetics and taking care of stuff. Like my parents took a lot away from it too, just from being there, knowing they had that support from other parents. And I mean, they loved it and wanted to go back, but then we didn't for a little bit. And then we were reached out to about going to Florida to see winter, because I was obsessed with the Dolphin Tale movies. So I was able to go to that one in Florida, and that was like a dream come true to me. And then I took a little bit of, I wouldn't say a break. I was little, so I was just trying to go. But I didn't come back until last year of Big Bear. And that was, I'm so glad I did, because so many doors opened when I went back, because Cameron Clapp's all like, dude, you got to come back. You got to come back. And I'm like, all right. I mean, why not? And I mean, I met amazing people like David and Alex. And from there, I joined the Inspire program, and I talked to Cameron Johnson about it, same with Alex, and I started doing that. And then I went to teen camp, then I went to main camp, and just more camps after that. And I was like, seeing the satisfaction of those little kids, just their smiles at the end of the camp and not wanting to leave. But then in the beginning, they were shy and didn't know anyone. It's just the satisfaction of helping parents too, just when they didn't know, or it was a new experience for them. Like it definitely helps me and makes me feel better too. And it just, the satisfaction I get from that, like, is like nothing else. And that's one of the main reasons why I love and why I tried to become a mentor for camp, because it just brings joy to my heart just going to a camp.
Yeah,
and it shows, Cam, you are a great mentor. And I'm sure, like, even that little bit of break you had from 12 to 7, you were 17 when you came back last year, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That difference of just, your outtake on camp and being able to like inspire and help versus when you were just a camper, like that mind shift really, I feel like you matured a lot as a person, and knowing yourself, to be able to get back to that community. So
I just want to, real quick, Cam, you mentioned it, but can you talk a little bit about teen camp? Because you sort of, I think it was really, last year was your first year going, and you really, what was so great about it, I think you really kind of just stepped into sort of a lot of that leadership role. But I think, I tell this story all the time, I was so fired up with the way the sort of group of you guys sort of came together. It was sort of teens from all around the country, really hadn't met each other very often or really knew each other very well. And then I tell the story about the hot tub and us having to go inside and watch our video. And then like this other group, you know, of like Boy Scouts or, you know, or like some other group took the hot tub over and then they left. And then you guys were like, guys, we can't leave and let the four-limbers get back into the hot tub. And that was like my favorite story to tell because, you know, we had, you know, some of the other folks we had on here, you know, we talk about a lot of us, you know, we didn't know anyone who looked like us. We didn't know anyone else that was a non-four-limber. But what was so cool was that this small group of kids, you know, teens kind of found this power in their own identity. You know what I mean? Within the disability, within their limb difference, it was this cool sort of like camaraderie and power that you guys found. And in kind of like a fun way. It wasn't like, you know, we're anti four-limber, but it was like, no, we have this thing that we all share and we are all connected with. And that's what kind of brings us together. But just tell us a little bit about that teen camp and kind of that experience and what it was like from your point of view.
Teen camp was incredible. I mean, from the second I got there, I mean, I didn't know anyone like you were saying because it was my first time and I didn't really know any of the teens. But I mean, the first day, like you sign in, you say you're there, you give in your phone. And I mean, that's honestly the best. Like I enjoyed not having my phone because you don't look at it when there's someone right in front of you. And it's just right away, we were throwing the football. We started with a name game by ourselves. We were like, all right, we need to learn names eventually. So why don't we just play a football game? And every time we threw the football, we said each other's names. And then we started then games with the noodle where you hit them with the noodle and then you say what you like. And then whoever else likes it steps in the circle. I mean, it was just a bunch of getting to know you stuff, but that's what I feel like is the most important because that's what made us come close. Because I mean, I made incredible friends, especially transitioning over to main camp. It was even stronger friendships. But teen camp with the whitewater rafting, working as a team, that was a blast. I mean, I'll never forget Roy falling out of the raft, and I'm just in the video. I look bad. I'm just sitting there doing nothing, but. I mean, there's so many memories I could take from that. And it's like, it just makes me happy to go back and think about camp because those friendships aren't gone just because I'm not near them. They're just not as strong maybe because I don't get to see them every day, but I still can contact them or FaceTime if I wanted to. But I mean, teen camp is like no other camp in my opinion. Like there's no comparing it to anything else.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And Kelsey Moody and Rob Schulman, they kind of sort of they were kind of brainchilds of that. And I think it was great. Mary sort of was like, yeah, this is sort of cool to kind of create something that's different. But I think it is a really cool tool. If you're, I guess, sort of transition a little bit real quick. We have a few minutes left, but we've asked some of the other guests on our Not a Podcast about what was kind of middle school, high school like for you? What did you face some of the challenges of bullying, of staring, and those kinds of things? What were some of the ways that you adapted and you sort of worked through that, or did you sort of kind of have an experience where you were kind of around the same kids and everybody sort of knew, like, oh yeah, Cam's got his legs, blah 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 blah. That's you know, someone said something about him, you know, that you had someone that kind of stood up for you, or what was the experience like for you in that sort of awkward time as you're kind of wrapping up this awkward time to move into a new awkward time?
Yeah. So I was really worried about being bullied in junior high because, you know, that's where you think it starts, and it was in my head that it does. But I was actually never bullied through junior high and high school. The only time I was bullied was in first grade, but what happened is they got in trouble and that it stopped there. But with junior high and high school, I was asked every now and then, like, what happened or whatever, but a lot of those people, luckily from junior high to high school transitioned, so they already knew me. So that was great because it wasn't like a whole new high school I had to explain or get stared at often. So high school was more high school than junior high, but high school was a place for me where I felt comfortable and like everyone already knew I was a guy at school who was missing his legs. It wasn't a surprise. Like no one would stare at me when I'm walking because they're like, oh, it's just another person, which, you know, it sounds like you don't want to be known like that, but when you stand out a little extra, sometimes it's nice to just be like, oh, it's just Cameron. So through high school, to be honest, was probably my best experience. Junior high is that little awkward phase where you're like not sure what you're doing quite yet. You're like the schedule's weird, but I mean, junior high was more of a jump around friend groups. I didn't really have like single friend groups. So high school, sophomore years where I still have my friends to this day who literally joke around with me. About my legs, we make jokes, and it's just, they know who I am. They know I can handle anything. They don't treat me any different. Like if I say, oh, I don't want to do that, I have no legs. They're like, oh, be quiet. You can do it. Like they don't cut me any slack because they know me.
They're calling you out in a good way.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's awesome, Cam, and I think you touched on something really cool there. Is like it was in your head in junior high and then high school, which I think a lot of us have like these predetermined thoughts about how people are going to think about us or look at us. But like you said, it's like once they know you, even for a split second, it's like that doesn't even cross their mind like we think it would for them, you know? So that's really cool.
And it is cool, yeah, that you had sort of that group, like you said, you were sort of in elementary school and kind of in middle school and then high school. That's pretty sweet. So Alex, you had another great question. Cameron is not a typical guest so far. He is only the third guest, so I can't really say he's, who's typical, but it was a great question you had to ask him. So we might want to close.
Sure. Cam, so usually, like David said, we have older guests. Our first couple have been older guests than you on our Totally Rad podcast. That's not a podcast. And usually a question that we ask our older guests is if they could give themselves advice at 19 years old. Kind of what would that advice be? But in your case, maybe we can like switch it up and ask, or we'd like to know, like, if you could face yourself at age 30 in the future, what do you hope to be doing, or what do you hope to know, or like what words of encouragement or wisdom would you give to yourself?
That is a good question. But for me, when I'm 30, I'm hoping, I'm hoping for a family by that time and a good career. I'm going in to CSUN, Cal State Northridge, for computer engineering. So I'm hoping for a solid job with a company, maybe within the government, working on Edwards Air Force Base up where my mom lives, and hopefully settle down, maybe just start a family, and to be honest, just live life to the fullest and not like stress about every single day on what tomorrow's going to bring. Just focus on that one day. And I mean, that's what I try and do today, is just take it one day at a time, because if you stress about tomorrow, you're going to maybe miss something from today. So
that's great advice. And that's what we know about you so far, is that you do live life to the fullest,
Yeah.
So day by day, baby.
You gotta be day by day, Then again, aren't we all? That's like my favorite quote is like, how you doing? I'm day to day. But then again, aren't we all? Cam, to sort of close this out, I mean, I think that might be the advice that you would like to sort of leave folks with. But is there any other advice, any other thoughts that you would leave for campers and families that are kind of still going through the process that you did in terms of experiencing camp, maybe for the first time, maybe they've been around for a while? Anything any advice you would leave for them to think about as we close this thing out?
I mean, for campers, definitely, like, don't be shy to ever jump in with a group and have some fun, and just camp is where you're supposed to have fun, make those friends, feel like no one's looking at you, just enjoying it. And then for parents, I would just say never be afraid to ask questions, because that's like probably the best time to ask questions is at camp. Even if think it's not a good question, that it doesn't matter. Any question's a good question when it comes to a life you may not know about and you're learning. So that's honestly the advice I would have for campers and parents.
Excellent advice, man.
Yeah, and that's what's cool about Camp No Limits is everyone is so vulnerable and there is no judgment, so you can just be yourself and ask whatever you want completely, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Well, I think Cameron, thank you again for being this third guest, man. Thank you for being the lucky charm.
You're the man, Cam.
Thanks for having me.
Marshmallow.
A little purple marshmallow.
I think, that might be his nickname from now on, Purple Marshmallow. But before we go, we have just a couple of one last sponsor to thank. I don't know, Cameron, about you. If you've ever had trouble sleeping, you might be bunking with a friend in a room or cabin or a camping trip. You can't sleep because your friend's snoring louder than a hippo fart. Well, you sleep bad no more, because we are sponsored by Rob Schulman's personalized Camp No Limits soft jelly earbuds. Now, with these earbuds, you will sleep like a healthy baby and hear zip, zero, nada. You know what we mean? So you can call now and you get 50% off this fake pair of Rob Schulman's personalized jelly earbuds. Call today. It's 1-800-SHULMAN.
1-800-SHULMAN.
Whatever, yeah. So, again, thank you, Mr. Cameron Lutges, for being a guest. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Alex Barone. We're going to close this out. We hope everyone has a great rest of the summer, and we'll see you guys soon, all right?
All right. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Cam.